There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, The Church of Failure, and with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Eric McCartney. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm going on strike.
Oh, are you? Well, as long as, like I said, as long as you're here for the show, you can do whatever you want to, man.
How kind of you.
But,
unbeknownst to you, though, I'm holding a picket sign.
Okay, good. Good. And I want you to be able to express yourself freely. Just as long as you're here. You know, I don't...
All right, fair enough.
We are joined in the digital studio by a special guest, CaptainWeeb. Oh, that was something. Something just happened. Just got a new subscriber. That's fantastic.
All right.
Awesome.
So, why don't you tell everybody why I invited you on the show, Mr. Weeb?
Well, we're going to be talking about the Great Goblin Slayer.
We are, and I'd like to kind of expand that into a conversation about some of the differences between Weeb is a Jew. Prove me wrong. I don't know. I don't know that we can prove that wrong.
I'm like a reverse Jew. I give money to people instead of hoard it for myself.
Maybe that's just your way of throwing us off the trail.
Oh, shit. You guys are on to me. Well, that was a great stream, guys. I got to run.
But welcome to the chat, Xavier, and thank you for joining the channel. But yeah, I wanted to kind of expand this into a conversation about more of a comparison between comic books and weebs. Are we taking more suggestions to Scar Ayrton? I have something. Yeah, go ahead and DM me that either on Twitter or Discord, and we totally won't make Ayrton read it for the show.
You guys suck.
We do it for them, Ayrton. It's for them.
Oh, you get a sick, perverse pleasure out of it.
Well, I mean, mainly because I would just be doing it by myself if it wasn't for you. I mean, I can't be the only one that's excited when someone shares in their pain, right?
Well, I'm glad I can help you, Scar Ayrton.
Well, absolutely. Well, I didn't even expect it until the very end. Like, when you said there were adult themes, I remembered people talking about the anime and how terrifying that was. And I'm just like, is this the same? Is this different? Because I'm not really an aficionado on anime or manga or any of that stuff. Only Western books for me, because I'm a good Christian boy.
Which is funny because people got so mad about it, but after the first episode of the anime, it's very like sunshine and like killing goblins. There's not too many adult themes until like later on in the series.
Right.
But literally the first episode is like this, oh god, this whole series is going to be grim and dark. And then after that it's like, wait, what the hell happened?
I think you can actually just say the words. We're not monetized yet, so I don't think it's going to hurt us, but after the first
we're never going to be.
Yeah, after the first volume, you're pretty much left with, is this just going to be goblin rape?
I mean, and to be fair though, as far as what we've looked at so far this month, with it being Alan Moore month, it's as weird as this is to say, it was actually pretty tame.
Yeah. Well,
compared to the other things we've looked at.
it was. There was no penis involved in Goblin Slayer, so not that I could see. I wasn't looking for it specifically, but pretty sure I would have recognized it had it been there.
In the entire run, I think of the manga they have up so far, I don't think there's a single penis. So
Okay, good.
Just
Well,
titties.
they
just titties, which is acceptable.
they have something against those in Japan. I think they're all embarrassed of it.
Apparently, Weeb, you owe Xavier Arms a Warhammer DLC, and that's why you're a Jew?
I did not get the special bonus from the mobile game, sir. You will get your DLC when I get that.
We have the Goblin King in chat, so he needs to beware because spoiler alert: at the end of this volume, we're introduced to the Goblin Slayer.
And Goblin's
Unless
going
you're
to die.
Jareth the Goblin King, and then I think you'll be fine because you're David Bowie.
True.
Well, yeah, I mean, that guy's
And you got
immortal.
that bulge.
So, can we get Spidey a Discord link? Absolutely, we can get Spidey a Discord link.
Of course.
I can. Is Discord even open for me right now? Yep, it is. Okay, I can do that. No,
You get a
don't
Discord
switch.
link. You get a Discord link.
Yeah, I'm totally
Everybody gets a Discord link.
I'm totally just gonna drop a one-time a one-time link, and it's gonna expire in an hour. But I'm gonna go ahead and generate the link, copy. There we go. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. So anybody that's not in the Discord, this is your chance to get in. Yeah. This is your opportunity to get in.
You definitely need to read this. Just get past the first volume and you'll be fine.
It's not even that bad in the first volume. I'm not even gonna lie.
No,
not.
it really wasn't.
It's just sad.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah,
the
it's
link's already there,
definitely
Spidey. It's already there.
Like it pops up and you're like, God damn.
But it goes away pretty quickly, though, thankfully.
Yeah.
It's not like 5 or 6 pages of just gratuitous rape.
Right.
No, and it's just 2 instances of basically one of the female characters getting their clothes ripped off. It expires at the end of the show. It expires in an hour. I figured that was the only way that I could keep from accidentally leaving it out there for too long again. No, bro, I believe you're an admin. You can invite anybody you want to. But,
Yeah.
No, I was reading through this, and one thing that I noticed, just in regard to the manga style versus the comic book style, is the manga really seemed to rely a lot more on the art to tell the story, as opposed to spelling everything out for you. And in places that can get a little bit difficult to kind of follow what's going on, because the art style is completely different than Western comics. It almost feels like on a monthly Western comic you get art that just kind of falls apart after about 4 pages. If they start rushing or on too tight of a deadline or whatever. So if the book isn't going to maintain the artwork, if the artwork's not going to be, synonymous all the way through the book, after about 4 pages you notice that, backgrounds start getting less detailed. The art just starts getting more stiff. That is the exact opposite thing that happened in this. The further along you got in the book, the less words you saw and the more action you saw in the artwork itself. And I thought that was interesting.
That's the one thing I like about manga more than comics, in my opinion, is it's a lot more... there's a lot of just full-on, just pages where it's just pages and pages and pages of nothing but action, no dialogue. And it's very detailed too. It's not like, oh, here's a quick shot of a guy getting his head cut off. There's people in the background that are well defined, and I think that's the one thing that really gets me into manga more than comics. But there could be comics like that. I don't know. I'm a comics noob.
There are actually comic books out there that don't have a single word printed in them.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, Gone. I don't know if anybody. This is going to show my age a little bit here, but I don't know if anybody remembers Tekken 3. I'll pull up an example of this. Let me just make sure this is okay for YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's a game called Tekken 3 for PlayStation 1. Well, one of the secret characters in Tekken 3 was a little orange dinosaur called Gon, right? There's a little tiny dinosaur and his special attack was to fart on you. That's literally based on a graphic novel character that's a comic book or a graphic novel with no words in it. Like, the adventures of Gon are told all in, like, sound effects and art panels. Like, there's no dialogue whatsoever.
John Dela Cruz in the chat actually makes a good point. One of the best things about Goblin Slayer is nobody actually has a name. They all have their job descriptions.
Right. I was going to actually talk about that. That's one thing I liked about this story in particular, is it reminded me, like, this reminds me of somebody starting up a game of a classic RPG like Final Fantasy or something like that. And this is the party and their real life experience while they're, going towards the quest, instead of just all being shoved into one body and walking from point to point. Like, this is kind of like what happens when somebody fills in the story between an RPG.
If you in the beginning of the manga, if you look really closely when the priestess girl is signing up, that's actually a D&D character sheet she's filling out.
Yeah,
I
did catch that.
Really?
Yeah, I noticed that when I was rereading it. I glossed over it when I first read it. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't pick up on that.
Did I misspell it in the thing, or Donka just like? No, Donka's just giving me a hard time. But also, everybody, now that I brought up Tekken 3, everybody needs to just calm down. Brian was the best character. Back, kick. And that's all you have to do for the entire game.
I was always
So saith the church.
I was always just more of a Street Fighter guy than a Tekken guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was because that's what someone gave me. And I was a poor kid growing up, so I was just like, cool, I have a fighting game now. Ha-ha! Manga is better in general. It's done solely because the creator wants to share their stories and ideas. Save a few exceptions, Western comics are 100% about moving a product. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Donga tried to Google that and misspelled it as Goblin Layer. That
Donka.
was really eye-opening read.
I can only imagine what you saw there.
It's Donka, not Donga. But yeah, we appreciate it.
Donga.
We appreciate it, Donka. Thanks for stopping by, man, if you're not going to hang out. But we definitely do appreciate it. But no, I really like the setup of this. And here I've got on screen just kind of an example of what the action in the art looks like. There are 4 word bubbles over 2 pages. I mean, usually in a modern comic, you're lucky to get 4 word bubbles in a panel. But
And the art, you can really feel the movement and the action. I think, like I said, it's been a long time since I've read any manga, and that's one of the things that really stuck out to me in the art is just how you can just feel the movement and like the weight of like, each strike in a fight scene or something like that versus some of the stuff we get today. That's a little bit like, it's still kind of, sometimes fight scenes in comics today are still kind of like the old Batman TV show. It's like bang, pow, bash, punch,
Well, you actually have a good bit of that in this, but it's done so much more masterfully. Like, these symbols, I believe, are supposed to correspond with the words that are above them. And that's their sound effects, and those are prevalent throughout the entire book, but they're just done much more artistically, I think, than a lot of modern comics. Now, there are obviously exceptions to that in any kind of modern comic that you're going to read, and there are good examples and bad examples of it, but, you know, to be completely honest, when was the last time you read a comic book that wasn't like, I don't know, a big indie book or somebody's like personal passion project that looked this good from start to finish?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And the
And
one
there-
thing that's really good about like this series in particular is the art style is like very consistent in its quality. There's like you don't see it like there's no noticeable dips. If anything, like later on the action scenes get more detailed and way more graphic, and you actually feel like you feel dread for these characters in some of these scenes, and it like real noticeable dread.
And I think that's something that a lot of creators aspire to accomplish, but just kind of fall short on, especially in a lot of Western comic books. Now, again, that's definitely not YouTube safe. I pull the I pull the image down before I flip through it. That way, it doesn't it doesn't accidentally get up on screen.
With volume 1, that's not a bad call to be super safe.
Yeah. So, but again, you've got a lot of use of shadow. You've got some very interesting use of paneling in these books. It was really kind of a breath of fresh air to read something like this after you've been reading Western comics for, I don't know, almost a year now, just straight with no breaks.
Yeah, I will say though, it took me a good like 2 or 3 pages to remember that you're supposed to read it from right to left.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first couple pages, I'm reading it left to right. I was like, this conversation doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, it's supposed to go the other way.
Right.
That's I have the reverse problem now trying to read like other Western comics or anything like that. I'm like, this makes no fucking. Oh, I'm supposed to read it the other way. And like even like just regular comic panels or anything like that, I'm so used to reading it from like back to front. It just it fucks me up. I got to remember. Oh no, this is not this. Change my attitude.
Well, I mean, once you get past that, though, and I think they're laid out in a way to kind of draw you into the proper way of reading them.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the word bubbles are set up in a way of, start here, and if you start anywhere else, it's just not going to make any damn sense. So, now, do you know anything about how true this is to the translations or whatever? 'Cause that's another question that I would be fairly interested in finding out, because all of these mangas start out in Japanese. How faithful are the translations once they make it over here?
It depends. Like a lot of companies do a really good job on it. There's One Yen Press. They do a very good job with their translations. But what I found is there's some websites that are just manga, just dedicated, and those guys, a lot of those people are actually Japanese that translate it from Japanese to English, so it's extremely faithful. It's all depending on what source you get it from. It can be really good, or it can be like none of this is properly said. What the hell? How do they get this from this? And a lot of times what they'll do is a translator, well, like if it doesn't make sense in English, they'll put like a little translator like kind of clip on like this is there's not really a meaning for this in English, but this is what it's supposed to convey.
Yeah.
So they kind of help you out a little bit.
Okay.
Because the only manga I'm really familiar with is Hellsing. I read that and Hellsing Ultimate when it came out because I'm disgusting and read the same thing 4 different ways. That's what Hellsing was, I think. They just repackaged the same stories in like 4 different formats and were like, here, take it all, you slut. And me, like the slut that I am, did. But we should react to the Mandalorian trailer that just came out. I need Weeb's opinion on it. You up for that later on this episode, Weeb?
I'm down.
Okay. We'll briefly discuss the Watchmen episode too. I don't have a lot to say about it. I have a few interesting takes, but I don't think that I have a lot to kind of cover on it. I think you guys know my general opinion on the show. If it didn't try to be Watchmen, it might be halfway decent. But
and that's
we'll get to that.
pretty much my same thoughts still too. So, anyways,
But we'll get to that. There were a few new tidbits that were introduced in the second episode that we'll talk about. But
yeah.
So let's break down the story of this real quick. Volume 1 is basically a classic introduction in the sense of you've got your setup, you've got your your conflict, you've got your somewhat resolution or cliffhanger. But a couple of interesting things. You don't get any names, like was mentioned earlier. So there's no, there's no personal connection with these characters. And initially, when this book started, I was a little bit weary of that because I figured we would just get introduced in the actual story, right? But by the time you get to the end of the story, which I guess we shouldn't skip over, you start out, there's a healer, and she's signing up for adventuring in the Adventurers Guild. And like you said, there's a D&D sign-up sheet where she's filling out her stats. And she gets her porcelain rank badge, which is also her dog tag to identify her when she dies in the field. Which I thought was interesting.
I love that conversation between her and the person explaining it to her. She's like, "Yeah, don't lose that in case you die. We need that so we know who you are."
Right. And it was just so nonchalant because she probably has that conversation 400 times a day.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So,
like it's even explained kind of later on in the volume. It's like we get a lot of adventurers. The turnover rate's pretty great.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
But the minute she gets done signing up, she's enlisted she's enlisted to help the entire group of what seems to be a warrior, a mage, and I don't really recognize what the other girl's class is, like a rogue?
A monk.
Oh, she's a monk.
She's a monk, yeah.
Okay. But you get a little bit of a flashback of all of their backstories of, how they came up to be the adventurers that they are, their mentors and all that. It doesn't go into a whole lot of detail, but it gives it enough to make them people, I guess, in the story.
Yeah,
okay,
it humanizes them. Like you're like, okay, I can, I kind of get why this character's here and what's going on with them.
Right. But in the midst of all of that, the black mage and the healer or just the mage, I guess, and the healer get bombarded.
Been watching too much of that Watchmen.
Look, everybody wants the BBC, okay? But, no, they get bombarded from behind by a group of goblins, and the mage takes a stab to the gut, and the healer's just not able to heal her for whatever reason. So, she's walking around like, I used a minor heal and it didn't do anything. So, they catch up with the rest of the party. The monk kind of saves their asses for a little bit, but then she gets overwhelmed. And then, the warrior also takes an ass whooping, and the healer eventually takes an arrow to the shoulder, which I was grossly disappointed that it was not an arrow to the knee.
That would have been great.
But
I feel like American memes don't translate over to Japan as well.
I don't think
Some
that
of
was
them do, but
I was gonna say right now isn't Pepe and the Joker and May from Overwatch, aren't those all translating pretty well in Hong Kong?
oh, they're doing
That's
pretty good in
That's
Hong
not Japan
Kong.
though.
Well,
Cartoon makes a very good. We need to be PC. It's African American mage.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry. I apologize. Luckily, there's no Native American mage.
But,
No, now
believe
what
it or
about
not, not yet.
what about Gypsy Mage?
Oh, those are the shiftiest of all mages.
Right. Don't barter with those guys.
They, I have a beef with gypsy mages. They stole about 20 euro in France from me that I want back.
That you'll use for that DLC, so that you won't.
No. Now, wait, I want to hear this story. How'd you get conned in France?
So I was, I think it was 2010. I went on a trip with my school, and we went from Germany, kind of roamed all around, and when we got to Paris, I decided I'm tired of the school group. I'm going to sneak off by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm roaming around, and this old woman comes up to me with a sign that says, "Do you speak English? I'm very hungry, very poor."
We're talking about gypsies, and you said roaming around. Was that a dog whistle?
No, he was looking for a bathhouse.
If I was in Japan, I would. I mean, I can't confirm or deny that. Okay. But so I was just talking with her, and she's like, "Yo, do you have any spare money?" I'm like, not really. And then I walked away, and I'm looking around for my wallet, and I turn around, and this young gypsy apprentice has my wallet. So I chase after this kid for maybe about a block or two. I find my wallet. I only had like maybe 20, 30 euro in there. He took the 20 euro note, but left the 10 and ran off. But
So how did you designate them as a gypsy apprentice? Like, were they wearing apprentice robes?
It was a younger gypsy-esque figure wearing a scarf, which I can only assume that's the signal that they're apprentices until they get their raggedy clothes that smell like weird food.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Fair enough.
They were dressed in a business suit and a scarf.
Traditional gypsy attire, yeah.
There is a manga translated to "I used to be the strongest sorcerer until I took an arrow to the knee and became a village guard."
I feel like something got lost in that translation.
I will read that, John. Thank you.
Gypsy mages know the most, though. This is known.
I have a lot of really interesting stories from me being either accosted or robbed in Europe. So,
how many times did this happen to you?
I got mugged in Rome. This old lady pulled up on a Vespa and pointed a gun at me, and she was speaking Italian, but I can only assume she was "Give me your wallet."
She pulled up on you, took your wallet at gunpoint, and then said "ciao" and rode off, right?
Yeah, well, that's pretty much it. Like
Please tell me she lit a cigarette afterwards.
No, she just pulled up speaking Italian, and I'm like, "Oh, no help, no, I'm American, no help." And then next thing I know, it's a snub nose, and I'm like, "I know this translation." Here you go.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that I had this and it belonged to you.
I mean, I didn't.
When I woke up this morning, my wallet was mine.
Just as pettins.
When I woke up this morning, my wallet belonged to me. I had no idea, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Italian customs, ma'am. I didn't know you're supposed to give your wallet to the elderly.
So, I don't know. This sounds like some communist propaganda to me, but here you go.
Ciao. So to bring it back around to Goblin Slayer, the entire party is basically screwed. Some more literally than others, and that's when you start seeing a sword just plummeting through heads left and right, and Goblin just being manhandled by a silver-ranked adventurer in full plate armor, and the healer looks up and says, "Thanks, who are you?" And he's like, not even "I'm the" or "Hi, I'm" or "My name is." He just shouts at her, "Goblin Slayer!"
In the anime version of that scene, like right when he walks in, they start playing like heavy metal music as he's just butchering the shit out of the goblin.
I heard
I
that
would
in my
hope so.
head.
Which is
Yeah, I heard that in my head when I read this. So yeah, and I've never seen the anime.
the
so
animators
it translates. Yeah. Now, one thing that I did kind of find myself wishing at the end of this, once I realized that was the to be continued point of the story, is I found myself really wishing that Goblin Slayer was Goblin Slayer and silver ranked, because all he did all day, every day, was just stalk and harass goblins. Like
that is what he does all day, every day.
Okay, so that's how. So he went from porcelain to silver, doing nothing but harassing goblins. Kind of like the South Park episode where they.
That is wonderful.
He's the best slayer of goblins in the world. Like that's his whole. He wakes up and goes to sleep thinking, "What's the best way to kill a goblin?" No.
Well, it reminds me of that South Park episode where the entire group level up to level 100, slaying boars. That's what it makes me think of. Like, this guy just wakes up. He's getting like 3 experience a kill, but still he's pushing, man.
Yeah, he goes from the lowest rank to the 3rd highest rank, just fucking killing goblins.
Excellent. So I'm glad
I picture it like. I picture it like his username on like an MMORPG would be like Goblin Slayer 69 or something like that.
Goblin Slayer 42069 Blazing Faggot. That's his username, not me using a slur. Don't ban me. But no, I'm glad that I picked that up. That was just so apparent by the way that they introduced him. Like, okay, this guy literally does nothing but kill goblins. You throw a beholder at him, no matter what level he's at, he's fucked. He's got no recourse for this because all he does is kill goblins.
Like later on in the series, they throw a non-goblin at him, and he has no idea what to do. He's like, okay, well, maybe if I just try fighting it. Like, nope. All right, let's do this. Nope.
Just like, it's not a goblin. Sorry, fam. Can't help you there.
So what you need at that point is somebody to cast an illusion on the creature to make it look like a goblin.
You know what? I don't think they've ever addressed that, but that probably would work with this.
We just need the mage to figure out how to make an illusion that you just turn the strongest shit in the series into goblins, and you got it. You're good. Problem solved. Manga over.
I don't know how to kill demons. Look again. Ho, I know how to kill that goblin, though.
So, all in all, like, reading this, it was a lot of fun. And even though it's 50-something pages, it was nowhere near as heavy as some of the 28-page comics we've read lately.
Yeah, it did not feel like 50-some pages.
Oh, no. You guys, the whole volume 1 is like 143 pages on the site I was reading it. So I'm like, oh, I smashed all those today. I didn't know that the actual probably one was only 53.
Oh.
Yeah, the actual volume 1 that I picked up ends when he introduces himself as Goblin Slayer.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll keep that in mind then, because the volume 1 I read was like, it goes a little bit past that, so all right, this makes a lot more sense.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you're more than welcome to get into it. I do plan on reading some more of this, but I don't care about spoilers. But this was pretty good. It was pretty interesting, and like I said, if the adult parts of this book kind of slow down and scamper off a little bit, then I'm more inclined to read the rest of it. Because
it's very spotty. After, I mean, like in the volume 1 I read in 143 pages, there's a couple of panels where they show, the aftermath what happens to these women when they get captured by goblins. But after that, it's like it drops off almost exponentially until kind of like later on in the series. There's a lot of lighthearted moments, a lot of dead goblins.
I would hope
Like
so.
later on, it gets back to that level of, oh, I feel uncomfortable reading this. But once it's over, it's over pretty much.
Well, one thing that I would appreciate of this series is if, after it was all said and done, when the creator had finally penned the last volume of this and everything, and it's been a few years, and I don't know if this is already coming past or not, but the next project this creator should do is telling this exact same story from a surviving goblin standpoint.
This crazy motherfucker, all he does every day is come up here and just kill us.
Right, he's got to be like the boogeyman to goblins, right?
Yeah, he's like the John Wick to goblins.
So, I mean, you have
I was going to say Sam Hyde of goblins.
He's
but...
the Sam Hyde of goblins.
Oh, man.
You know, either way. Now, do we get like backstory on Goblin Slayer? Like why he did a goblin like disrespect his mother or something like that, and that's why he kills them? Like
this potential spoiler alert,
2.
everybody.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
And I guess for volume 2 for you guys, what it kind of gets into why Goblin Slayer does what he does. His village was attacked. His parents were killed. His sister was tortured and defiled by goblins while he was hiding and saw it all. And literally, the second after the attack was over, that's the only thing he thought about was killing every goblin in existence.
Oh, okay.
That's fair.
But he says it in kind of like a the receptionist lady after this whole attack was kind of talks to him about like, well, give me a report on what happened and why do goblins raid? Do they just hate humans? And he talks in like almost as if he was talking about somebody different, explaining why somebody like him does what he does.
Oh, okay. So kind of showing that he's just so disconnected from who he previously was that now he's no longer, your name here. He is Goblin Slayer.
Mm-hmm. He's not Farm Boy anymore. He's just Goblin Slayer.
Okay. I dig that. I actually appreciate that. And I think it was SJW Spidey in the chat says, oh no, goblins equal grapplers.
Grapplers. I mean, the nose knows.
That's a little problematic there, Spidey. Can't talk about Sam Hyde.
You guys
grapplers.
are getting a little spicy in the chat there.
No, they've been spicy since we started. What are you talking about?
Well, that's true. They're never not spicy.
So, Goblin's majorly disrespectful to Ho's sister. His sister, yes.
Not
Ho's,
novel,
his.
bro. I was gonna say Sam Hyde too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you were.
I have to be careful with my spiciness. I got put in a 7-day Twitter jail because
I'd noticed.
I had too much fun. Yeah.
Your brother, Punished Weeb, told us.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm glad he's taken the time to relay my good wishes to all my followers.
We all need
appreciate
somebody
it.
like that. I personally rely on the synagogue of failure. Should I ever go silent?
And I rely on not Ayrton on Twitter.
We're totally not gaming the system, you guys.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah, you should go check all of them out. They're great. They're good people.
Well, actually, Danielle, I came home and for some reason my head felt like it was exploding from the inside out. It's still not quite there, but I'm putting on a happy face for you guys. And I laid down, and the Discord was just quiet all day. And I wake up, and there's just degeneracy. A wall of degeneracy.
A little bit of that was my fault. I'll take the blame there.
So, Punished Weeb missed you, so now you see where I stand. Man, man, Xavier's just not feeling love tonight, man. But no,
Well,
go ahead.
sorry to address that. I'm only allowed to follow so many people each day. I tried going through my brother tried going through my Twitter and following all my followers before everyone else, but after like 30 people, it said, "Oh, you can't follow this many people. Take a little bit of time, and then you can follow again later." So it's a little weird.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing, and it will lock you out for trying to follow too many people.
That happened to one of the guys in this Discord I'm in. He tried to kind of follow everyone back, and they actually suspended his account for that.
Yep.
Just
Spam.
weird.
Spam and suspicious practices. But
I am Goblin King in the chat. Says I need a droid alternative name. That's Air Tron.
yes,
I like that.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
good.
Yeah, but see, we know you don't have that kind of technology.
That's true.
Otherwise, you would just call in from your droid.
This is very true. I mean, I will say, robots and stuff like that kind of creep me out a little bit, right? But I think it was last year or the year before at that electronics consumer show. Honda had like showcased like these little like personal droids that are basically like it'd be like Siri or something like that, but like not connected to your phone. And they were kind of cool. Like one of them could like roll around and like follow you and shit. I was like, man, it's like R2-D2 or some shit going on here. What the hell?
Yeah. So we all have great alternate identifications coming in through the chat. Mosque and Temple of Failure. But so I feel like honestly the storytelling, like I said, was a lot different in the manga than it is in a traditional Western comic, I think, because it relies a lot more on the art. And the art is a lot more detailed, even though it's just black and white and, ink wash. There's no color. I mean, I don't think I've ever read a manga that was in full color except for American mangas.
There's not too many that are like full color, and the ones that are, I mean, like it's nice to see, like the color and all that, but it can get a little distracting.
I'm sure.
And some black and white comics are harder to read because the art style just doesn't lend itself to being black and white. Now, there are obvious exceptions to any rule. We reviewed Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. I don't know that book would work in color.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac is also the ravings of a madman.
Well,
So
They're good ravings.
they are.
I remember thoroughly enjoying Tickle Me Elmo.
oh yeah. But I think we have to review Squee next when we get back around to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we definitely should do that.
But really, there didn't seem to be a lot difference in the formatting between a manga and a comic, except for obviously the way you read it and the way it's laid out. But I mean, you've got paneling just like you do in a comic book. You've got word balloons. I'm sure there's manga in there where there's more heavily thought balloons and stuff like that. Maybe, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, say that again.
Are there thought balloons?
Yes. There's a lot of manga that have like thought balloons and all that fun stuff on top of the dialogue balloons and.
Okay, so I mean, really, there's no different in the the trappings of a comic book versus a manga. Now, why do you think that a lot of is it just accessibility that's driving the American market more towards a manga than a comic?
I mean, I think so. Also, there. I mean, there's a lot of sites that that provide free manga and all that, and especially like a lot of anime now, they're pretty much designed to get people to read the manga. Like they'll only do one season and leave it on a cliffhanger and pretty much kind of imply you should pick up the book, see what happens, continue the story.
Yeah.
So like a so like it's a good see like the actual like animated style. Like, oh, I really like the story. I want to pick it up. Like there's a lot of shows that are out right now that actually went out and bought the entire series of light novels and manga just because the season was great.
Well, just from what I'm looking at here, um, it looks like Goblin Slayer Volume 1 cost $10.
Hmm.
So that's $10 for 50 something pages of really great art, a really interesting story with a hook, a beginning, a middle, and end. Good night, cartoon. We'll see you next time.
Oh,
Thanks
see
for
you,
stopping
buddy.
in, buddy.
Yeah, have a good one, man.
But you've got Goblin Slayer Volume 1 running between 10 and $12 on Amazon. All available on Prime. And I mean, it's just as thick as two standard comic books, so you're not paying any more. And I feel like you're getting something that just a little more, I don't know, substantial.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
I mean, I feel like that's got a lot to do with it, because the cost of a comic book today, you get 28 pages for $4 or $5, and you read it, and it's a crapshoot on whether or not it's even going to be halfway decent. You can almost guarantee that it's not going to be a complete story in those 28 pages. Goblin Slayer was a cash grab. Do you know
No.
PJ Veritak? Is that one of your people?
Yeah, he's one of one of the guys I know. He's a good guy.
Okay.
Makes great memes.
Okay. I was just making sure. I have not seen him in the chat. Welcome, buddy. Kids
Now,
Anime has a manga sister
how does-
domain. I don't
How
know.
does the anime compare to the manga?
They cut out a lot of very gratuitous stuff, but other than that, it's very faithful. At least,
Okay.
Okay.
at least I think it is. Like the first episode alone got me to actually read the manga because like just the end when it's heavy metal music and he's going crazy killing goblins. I'm like, all right, I want to check this out.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Well, John Dela Cruz in the chat says, as far as Goblin Slayer goes, it has spawned many side stories that tell other character stories from other points of view as well. And that actually, if it tells them in the same style and format, like, I don't care that I ever hear anybody's name in these stories, but if all of these stories are told like this, I'd be interested in reading that. Because,
Oh, yeah.
again, to me,
And, like they even have a. Go ahead. Sorry.
to me, it just felt like I said, you boot up Final Fantasy V and you start your party and you've got, okay, well, I've got a warrior, a monk, a mage, and a healer. And this is just one of their stories. You don't have to have a faithful name. Like, it doesn't have to be, I don't know, it doesn't have to be Biggs and Wedge and Tifa and Yuffie or whatever.
I feel like those aren't really Japanese names.
Well, I mean, they're in every Final Fantasy, so Biggs and Wedge are anyway. It's an old Star Wars meme, though, I think, right?
Good old Wedge.
Yeah, Wedge and Biggs are an old Star Wars meme, and I don't know where Sid came from, but that's another Final Fantasy meme that just kind of kept popping up.
Kind of sad you didn't throw Porkins in there. Everybody needs a Porkins.
Yes. But, I mean, to compare the format of the two, a manga versus a comic, there's no real difference there. The price, like I said, you're getting about 2 comics worth for the price of 2 comics, but it looks better on a shelf. It's more substantial. I feel like it's going to hold up longer over time and can be displayed. as opposed to just sitting in a box out of sight, out of mind, like a normal standard comic book would. It's more of an investment towards a full series that you'd have on that shelf.
Well, and I think we touched on this last time you were on. There's some mangas, like, once you have the entire collection, like the spines make like a full scene of artwork or something like that.
Yes.
Is this one of those?
I don't think I have any physical copies for
Oh, okay.
this, but the one I'm looking at now, it's called "Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?" which is
No,
a great
not at all.
series. I highly recommend it. But like each one of the spine arts actually shows a progression of the character from like a fresh face, like a newbie adventurer to somebody who's seen some shit and has done some shit. And it's a nice little kind of display piece on my bookshelf.
Yeah, because I know my bass player is really into manga, and I remember he has one on his bookshelf that, when I don't remember if it's One Piece or Dragon Ball or something like that, but all of the spines kind of make like a continuous like picture together or something like that, and I thought it was cool.
Like this one I'm looking at now, it cost me $12.99, and it's 75 pages.
Right. So
Wow.
that's just over what it would cost to get 3 comic books, or just under what it would cost to get 3 comic books, and you've gotten,
Yeah.
a nice thick little volume of something that actually is going to hold up and sit on a shelf, and actually you can get an individual comic, and I don't throw my comic books away. I put them in bags and boards and boxes and all that stuff. But for the most part, it's a long time before I go back through that box and pull that book back out and think about it again.
Right.
With the manga, you can see it on the shelf, and you can pick it up and read it. You can suggest it to your friends to read. It's not something you're likely to forget about handing out. You're going to look over and, oh, well, I'm missing volume 3 of this. So, I don't know. I just feel like they're doing something that comics could be doing, and I don't know what that is exactly. Maybe it's just the novelty of the formatting. Maybe it's just the weedness in people. I like how everyone's avoiding the little quip that I made in the Discord.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know,
honestly, growing up, you always make fun of the anime kid in school and stuff, even though I dated one, but I still made fun of her for it.
Well, yeah.
But after reading this, I'm kind of like, should I maybe check out some more of this? Like, go, read a little bit more than what I have just from the couple of friends that I have that have,
We have to go deeper.
loaned me books and stuff in the past.
We need to go deeper, Ayrton.
Always go deeper. Which is weird. A chick can tell you to go deeper, but I don't think you could get away with telling her to be tighter.
Be more shallow. Goddamn. What is wrong
I actually
with us?
feel bad with that comment because John is one of my D&D players, and I have definitely put him through the ringer with his character.
Well, just don't roll a 1 with CaptainWeeb. I feel like that's a...
Yeah. Whatever you guys do in your own time. That's your business.
And remember, kids, cats can't consent. But
I feel so bad for the things I've done to my players.
I can only imagine.
They did it to themselves sitting down at the table with you.
I mean, you're not wrong. They knew exactly what they were getting into.
So, and to touch on what you said, Ayrton, I've always maintained that being an adult is just basically being able to read manga or play Pokemon and not care who sees you doing it.
Which is fair. I mean, the only manga I have on my shelf is the old Pokemon Adventures manga, where it's like it follows like the story of the game, not like the anime from like the
Right.
red and blue.
Oh, so you get the story of Ash instead of the story of, or you get the story of Red instead of the story of Ash.
Right. And it's actually pretty good. From what I remember, I mean, I haven't read it in, forever, but from what I remember, like, it was cool. Like, it's a little bit more adult. Like, you see, like, Pokemon get, like, cut in half and shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, God damn.
Well, I remember for a little while, and this is completely off topic. I apologize, Weeb, but there used to be a fan type thing called Poke Noir, and there were only like 4 or 5 pages of it. But oh my god, it was so good! Like,
Oh, yeah.
they used like
you showed that to me.
Yeah, they used like Voltorbs as suicide bombers and shit. It was weird, but I liked it so much.
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, it's like
That-
only like
sounds
3
familiar.
pages. Yeah.
Allahu Voltorb.
But
They're saying in chat you should read Berserk, and I definitely recommend Berserk. It is a masterpiece.
that is the #1 anime that's been recommended to us.
Yeah.
Or
Now,
manga, rather, not anime.
now, I like samurai lore and that kind of stuff. What would be your suggestion for like a feudal Japan sort of heavy related manga?
Let's see. There's one off the top of my head that just got an anime which is really good. It's Demon Slayer.
Okay.
It's like early 1900s Japan where there's like trains and some guns, but there's still a lot of swords and a lot of people living out in the salt of the earth kind of people.
Yeah.
And, let's see. Like their whole thing is they hunt demons with samurai swords.
I can dig it. I mean, that's like a dream job for me.
Well, let me just call BS here. I actually feel like this is nothing more than Goblin Slayer with demons instead of goblins. In fact, they're not even drawn differently. They just cross
very
out
tame,
goblins.
though. I mean, there's a lot of gore, but there's nothing like a goblin rape or demon rape or anything like that.
Well, that just takes
it's
my
a
theory
lot
right
tamer.
out the window.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, no, we're gonna have to review some more manga because this was interesting, and I'd kind of like to. Basically, I like to read something until I find something really bad in it, and I'm sure there's bad manga out there.
Oh, I can find some really, really bad ones out there if you really need me to.
Well, I mean, I'm sure like something like Sailor Moon comes to mind. But
There's no such thing as any bad Sailor Moon. It's all National Treasure.
is it okay? All right,
I mean, I have
Oh,
a very biased opinion, but
all right. I'm just gonna leave that one where it's at because I know what leads to those biases.
I plead the fifth.
Weeb's just in the background clearing his search history.
All those tabs.
But no,
Wait. Danielle in the chat, you could just buy some Kegel,
Kegel balls
and
and say
work
work on
on it. What
Yeah,
are
that's-
you referring to?
the depth and shallowness of that conversation.
Oh, okay.
Go deeper. Don't be so deep.
Just hand her some Benway balls. That's what they're called, by the way. Danielle.
What?
It's like Benway or something like that.
Oh, for the Kegel exercises?
Yeah.
After everything you went off on last night about penises and chocolate covered dollar bills or whatever, I don't want to know how you've acquired this information. I don't know that I'm going to let you talk on the show anymore. You still have to be here and read things that make you uncomfortable, but I think I'm just going to leave you on mute. Because for the last couple of shows, I feel like Alan Moore has broken you.
You mean I can't go off script anymore?
What script? When was there a script? Why was I not informed? When did I write this?
I mean, you sent it to me. It's not my fault you were. It's not my fault you were drunk when you sent it.
It probably is.
I mean, wait, hold on. Wrong line. Church of Failure is the greatest. He does not abuse me and does not keep me locked in a dungeon.
That's correct. That is 100%.
How was that?
Old Angry Normie, welcome to the show, buddy. Shame.
Hey, Normie.
That's what we're pretty much covered in all the time. Straight up shame.
I can't even say that, Einbrock. How am I supposed to watch it?
Carefully. Although I do feel I do feel like this is a pretty decent time to transition into Watchmen episode 2. Have you been watching that, CaptainWeeb?
I heard it was like very SJW-y, so I just on principle won't watch it.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much where we were until people in the chat were like, "Are you going to review this?" And I was like, "Well, I wasn't gonna. If you guys want us to, I guess I will."
Before you get too deep in there, I do want to throw a warning. If anyone ever says read a manga called Emergence, do not do it. Don't.
Okay.
It will. Words can't describe how much you should avoid anything to do with that.
Okay.
I'm going to make a little note on a card inside of my wallet just so that I remember that. I don't know. It sounded really important. Like that's life-saving information or some shit. Emergency contact. Extra information. Do not make me read emergent.
He sounded like the soothsayer from Julius Caesar.
Basically.
Do not read Emergent. Do not read Emergent.
Beware the Ides of Emergence.
Wait, is it March already? Fuck. Sorry, little. This is a bad joke. Anyway.
Yeah, Einbrock. I'm not gonna look that up.
I'll check it out.
Captain Weave's like, I'll fall on the sword. It's nothing to me. I've seen worse. I guarantee it. Honestly, I'm a little surprised after what you've been put through this month, Ayrton, that you're still afraid of things. Like,
I mean, I'm not. I mean, it's probably.
What's the worst that's going to happen? Is there going to be more fish penis?
well, see, that's the problem. Is it probably wouldn't faze me, and I'm not okay with that.
You know, the asshole in me wants to tell you to read this, but I don't know if you should.
Well, whatever it is,
Apparently
Patreon.
Joe Biden is in our chat.
Hold on.
Everybody, take your daughters into another room. We have Joe Biden here.
He will sniff them. That is his thing.
Yeah,
I'm currently being sniffed. I'm not sure how I feel about that right now. But I do want to make this quick announcement. If you want to make us read something that will make Ayrton uncomfortable, there is a tier on the Patreon for that. Once a month, you can make us read a standard issue of a comic book. But for, I believe it's $10, you can make us read a graphic novel or a manga. And if it makes Ayrton uncomfortable, he's just got to deal with it. So that's.
I will definitely donate $10 to make that a reality.
And you get to do it every month that you're a patron.
Oh, I will. I might have to cut some other Patreons to make that happen.
Thanks, Captain.
Yeah, I'm here for you, man.
But yeah, this week.
So part of this Patreon donation is going to my alcohol fund going forward. Then.
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
I mean, if there was a way to send you alcohol through Patreon, I would do that just out of principle.
I mean, That famous grouse only costs $25, right? I can just set up a tier.
Yeah.
This buys Eric a bottle of famous grouse this month. No other perk. It just buys Eric liquor. You don't actually get anything to buy him liquor. He's just, he's going to show up because he'll be drunk and forget that he shouldn't.
Right.
Anyway, no, Watchmen episode 2 aired this week on Sunday, and I was unable to find the ratings for it. A big shock there. I don't believe that the ratings were that great. I'm pretty sure they dropped off pretty heavily, but that's just an assumption.
Probably a good one.
The first episode, I don't know if you caught that show, CaptainWeeb. Are you familiar with what this is?
The first episode of the Watchmen show?
Yeah, well, just the show in general. Are you familiar with the pretense of it and all that?
I am not.
Okay. Basically, it starts out and they retell you half of the story of the 1921 Tulsa Massacre, which was the biggest racially charged riot scene in America ever.
The Black Wall Street Massacre.
Oh,
that's also
okay.
called.
Yeah.
I have heard of that, yeah.
Well, the main character is a descendant of a survivor of that, which we find out in this episode. All through episode 1, though, first off, after watching 2 episodes of this, you can tell it's written and directed at least in some form by the people that did Lost. Because I am just completely and 100% certain at this point in time that we are going to get an infinite amount of questions and no goddamn answers.
Well,
So, is this set after the Watchmen movie?
30
or-
years in the future. No, it's set after the Watchmen comic book, not the movie. The nuclear attacks that happened in the movie never happened. It was the alien attack that Veidt set up in the comic books that happened with the squid.
I was so disappointed when the alien did not make an appearance.
Well,
in the movie.
in the show, one of the Watchmen trappings that they use is that occasionally a warning timer or a warning buzzer will go off and it'll just rain squids for like 10 minutes. Like little tiny squids. And they dissolve. No real reason.
yeah.
We don't know if this is a government thing, if it's a Dr. Manhattan thing, if it's a Adrian Veidt didn't think something through thing. I have a hard time believing that one because the smartest man in the world doesn't make that kind of fuck up.
Except in this episode, they make him kind of crazy as shit.
Well, I mean, it's 30 years in the future. Can you imagine what living with being the smartest man in the world and knowing that you basically can manipulate anybody you want to? Like,
I mean, still.
I'm already calling that there will be a polar bear in the series somewhere. I'll take that action.
Now the real question is, what term is Nixon on? Is he?
Oh no, Redford's taken him out of office and has offered reparations to everyone in Tulsa that was involved in the massacre, and they're called Redfordations.
Oh, okay.
Let's just be completely on the nose. But
now,
there are protesters outside that talk about how equal rights, equal taxes, because there are apparently tax breaks for the African American population that are descended from the survivors of the massacre and all that. And they pointed out, like, okay, so you've got a group of people who get reparations. It's pretty much only black people on the police force, except for detectives. Now, how fucked up was that? Like, once I realized that, I was just like, what the fuck? You only promote the white people that join? You're making a statement about, there's one strong...
Only if they're communists.
Well, yeah. or complete and utter psychopaths.
Right. But so before we dive too deep into the storyline of the episode, so one thing that I had seen that I had brought up the day after we did our first review was that someone pointed out that this show is kind of like a Rorschach test, and I definitely kind of saw that, especially in this episode. You know, being a white male who enjoys vaginas over penises, it definitely felt like this, kind of feels like an amplified version of what's going on, right now. It's like a witch hunt for straight white males that are sick and tired of being told, like, hey, you suck.
Yeah.
But
Knox in the chat wants us, or excuse me, Goblin King in the chat wants us to not forget that Tug is in the show, and
true.
That's Into the Looking Glass, and he's probably one of the most interesting characters in the show at this point, I think, because he's completely just engrossed in his identity as Looking Glass. Like he's not whoever he was before it. Like you see him in his home watching television with a TV dinner, and he just pulls his mask up over his nose so he can eat. He never takes his mask off anymore. But the episode opens up.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Don Johnson's police chief character has been hanged. He's not a jacket. That's the rule. Right?
I mean,
he's been hanged.
I mean, he might be hung. We don't know.
But you open up. Don Johnson's been killed, and there's a.
You notice, Captain, how he just brushes over?
Yeah, I noticed that.
What? Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, I thought you were tired of penises. I mean, we're gonna keep talking about penises. You know what I'm gonna do.
Well, I mean, it comes up again in this episode, so might as well roll with it.
Thanks, Nick Rackets. Appreciate you stepping in there, buddy.
So as long as it doesn't affect my appearance check, I'll go keep talking about whatever.
Oh no, yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
I already cashed it, so I mean.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of need you to wait till like Thursday to cash it.
All right.
Right. No.
I'll try to uncash it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll just try and beat it to the bank. It'll be fine. But no, I just feel like. Anyway, skipping over Dong Johnson. Thanks for that, bro. What even is this show anymore? Don Johnson is hanged in the end of the previous episode, and you open up Sister Night Sister, whatever the fuck her name is, Regina King's character.
Sister Night.
Oh God, Regina
Sister
King's character
with an A
takes him to
really
her
her name?
bakery bat cave. Yes.
Oh,
Not with an A, but yes, it's Sister Night or Night Sister or whatever. But she takes him to her Batcave bakery and interrogates him. And then you have this interesting back and forth about how he's a psychic or a telekinetic or, he's Dr. Manhattan. And she's just like, bullshit, he's on Mars. And then that same conversation happened later on. So that's kind of interesting. But you don't really get any answers here except for the fact of who is that guy. And it's revealed that that guy is Regina King's character's grandfather. And also the little boy that you saw in the beginning of episode 1. The police go out in full force in Nixonville and round up as many of the rednecks as they can.
And this is the part that, it kind of got under my skin. Like, it didn't come across as like as much of a story point as much as like this is what the writers actually want to do to, like, middle working class America that voted for Trump. And I was kind of like, fuck you guys.
Absolutely.
But
This is definitely a political statement wrapped up in a Watchmen cloak. And that's pretty much the end-all, like, explanation that I have of it all. You're left with the mystery of how did this old 102-year-old man hang, a police captain because he's in a wheelchair. She goes to take him into the police, the police department and arrest him. And as soon as she gets him in her car, a ship with a magnet picks her car up and just flies off with it. You have no idea.
Which I did kind of like. I did kind of like that. I thought that was amusing.
You get a montage of Hooded Justice's origin, and it kind of goes
which was random as fuck.
Well, it kind of goes against the grain of what we learned in Under the Hood, because there's a strong man who is a communist that everyone suspects is Hooded Justice because the build matches up, but this show within a show, which again is kind of the motif of Watchmen, so I'll give it that. A show within a show from a comic book that had a comic book in it, kind of thing.
Right.
And did you pick up that the pilot from the police chief Owlmobile was a pirate? Did you catch that? Yeah, they call her Pirate or whatever, but she's that's kind of carrying on the Black Freighter motif. You're introduced in this episode to the newsstand guy, who I can only assume is the kid that was reading the Black Freighter comic in the original Watchmen book. That was something that I kind of wanted to take a deeper look at.
Yeah, there was that. I don't know. This episode seemed to be more heavy in the Watchmen references than the last episode.
They felt a little bit better to me.
You're gonna reference the newsstand worker and the kid. You're gonna reference the Hood blatantly. The weird ass Dr. Manhattan play that Veidt has his cloned servants.
We haven't started. Thanks for spoiling that. You're reintroduced to Adrian Veidt again in this, and he's watching. Now, let's go through the entire sequence, though, because this was one of the more interesting ones for me. And Weeb, feel free to jump in and ask any questions or criticize anything. By all means, just interrupt us.
What was that? It kind of cut out on my end. I could.
Oh, I said feel free to jump in and criticize us or ask any questions or anything in the middle of this. You don't have to.
I was going to ask, how much of the show is devoted to a totally separate pirate story?
None of it so far, unfortunately.
Shame.
But that's what I was kind of talking about, though. There's this TV show that takes place inside of it that is apparently based on Hooded Justice and the Minutemen, and that's kind of the meta. Yeah, that's kind of like the meta thing in this. So I give that a pass. Actually, I don't know if you agree with me on that, Ayrton, or not, but I kind of give that a pass because it does kind of fit in line with being a Watchmen trope.
Yeah, I can see that.
It was
still annoying.
Well, you're also reintroduced to Veidt. Go ahead.
Is this whole show like just new characters, or do they have, so far have there been cameos from the surviving Watchmen?
Well, yes, they're both. The show is based around new characters, but in episode 3, we're going to be introduced to Dr. Manhattan's penis has donated $1 and says we need a whole episode dedicated to you. That'll be the $5. That'll be the $5 Patreon tier. That we can make that happen. Otherwise, we will not be donating or dedicating any full shows to anyone's penis. But and that'll also be on BitChute, by the way, for anyone wondering.
Yes.
But thank you for that, Dr. Manhattan's Penis. We really appreciate it for stopping by and supporting the show. Good to have your godly presence with us.
Right.
I'm taking that as an endorsement for your guys' show.
I mean, I am too. Like I said, I do. You know, I mean, he super chatted that all the way from Mars. But we
Now,
do.
I'm just curious how, like, how he typed, like, with his penis.
Oh, he just grew hands out of it. He can do that. He's
Yeah.
Dr. Manhattan.
Oh.
He's Dr.
Okay.
Manhattan.
Yeah,
He can do whatever he
that's-
wants.
That's fair. I mean, I just feel like it would be hard to click, like,
It
exact
would be
buttons
hard.
with the head. Like, you might accidentally hit, like, the one next to it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh no, man. He he can just think it and it'll come through.
Fair.
But no, you're reintroduced to Vite, and you start to notice a kind of a trend. This time, his servants are serving him cake again, and it's got 2 candles, and he's ready to get on with the with the whole day or whatever, because apparently they're performing a rendition of The Watchmaker's Son, which is a play about the origin of Dr. Manhattan. So, in this, his, I don't know, one of his servants is portraying John Osterman and goes into a little room and gets locked in. They flip a switch in the play, and the guy playing John Osterman is burned alive.
Oh, wow.
Just right there in the middle of a one-man, like a play for one-man audience. And, earlier he had told his female servant that he wanted real tears at the performance tonight. And so he kills this servant of his, and then it's revealed that he's got multiple clones because one of the self-same servants comes down in blue body paint with his penis exposed. And here's Dr. Manhattan's penis reference. But
So I got warned about the blue penis, but I didn't get warned about the goblin rape until I was already reading Goblin Slayer.
So let's just tally it up this month. We've got fish rape and fish penis. We've got Dr. Manhattan's penis twice. Should we? No, you've watched the movie, so you've gotten Dr. Manhattan's penis 3 times.
Yes, that is a total of blue penises for 3 now. I'm gonna keep a tally on the
wouldn't
wall
it be
behind me.
4? Because the fish penis was like kind of blue.
It was more green.
One thing I'm wondering is eventually if they run out of ideas for this show, if they just go into the backstory of Dr. Manhattan's penis, just to make the tally go up a couple of notches.
Okay.
Just the penis.
Right. Well, it is on HBO. They can do that.
That's true.
So, anyway, you get the Vite backstory, and you find out that all of his servants are basically clones. Thank you, Veritech. That's kind of you to say, buddy. But yeah, you find out that basically Vite has cloned all of his servants, and that's why they're off. Because everybody was speculating whether they were clones or androids or whatever. And it's revealed in this episode that they're going to be clones, but we don't understand exactly what Vite is planning and why he's living in self-imposed exile, any of that. So again, every plot thread that's addressed in the story is just answered with more questions.
Right.
You find out that Don Johnson, hope everyone in here dies a horrible death and their family suffers. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Veritech.
Yeah, it's good to know you care. So loathing is the highest form of love, I think.
I mean, I'm hoping I go out in some like crazy ass motorcycle accident where I have to like jump over like a police car and then get shot like in the air because I'm running away from them, and then crash and there's an explosion.
See,
So I appreciate the sentiment.
all I hope is that my death is appropriate to how I lived. You know,
So
like
being
somebody-
smothered by anime titties.
that I
Waifu
wouldn't
pillow.
mind that as my epitaph. You know,
Smothered
how
by a
did
waifu
Weeb die?
pillow.
Smothered by anime titties, the way he wanted to go.
I'll make sure it says that on your tombstone.
I appreciate that. I will make sure I Streamlabs enough donations to cover the cost before I go.
There you go.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we'll make sure to get a nice big titty anime waifu pillow, and that way
Bury you
when
with it.
right when we hold it
I
over your
appreciate you
face
guys.
and you just stop squirming, then we'll know you've gone to a better place.
That or something funny. You know, I want my death to be somewhat comedic. So this way, you know, someone's reading the newspaper, they're having a shitty day. How did this guy die? Listen to this, hon. This dumbass died because he choked on his body pillow.
Choked on the body pillow was a big titty anime trap body pillow.
I can't confirm or deny that, but I heavily
We don't judge. We don't judge here. That's
Oh no,
that's
it's
not
heavily
an appropriate.
deny here.
Yeah, yeah, not an appropriate question here, and we don't judge what people do with their body
No,
pillows.
it wasn't a judgment. It was, journalistic inquiry.
Oh, okay. For the
No, I mean, if it
for the or the eulogy or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want to make it sound nice.
if it's for journalism's sake, I suppose that's all right.
But the main capstone of this episode, I think, is that while Will, the old gentleman at the beginning of the episode that apparently hung Don Johnson, hanged, he explains that Don Johnson had some skeletons in his closet, and that's why he quote unquote killed him. Because nobody assumes that this guy has, the ability to do that, being 102 years old and in a wheelchair. So,
Yeah.
She goes snooping around his house during his wake, which, real class move there.
Novel bro in the chat. Devolved, we retake wife fool is up.
Oh, yeah, waifu
Salem.
Waifu Jerusalem.
Waifu
yeah.
Salem.
Yes,
That.
I 100% agree. As the Catholic in me and the Weeb both agree on that.
Oh God, Weeb Trap Body Pillow donated $1. Don't let the man lie to you. He's like 5 of us locked in a cellar.
Son of a bitch.
You might want to go lock your
man.
cellar door again. Disconnect their internet.
God, you know what? I
just
knew I
clip-
should have frisked them for cell phones.
Yeah, we'll just clip that out. Nobody will ever hear that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But he
Die infidel. Ooh woo.
the oh God, what even is this? What even is this? Well, it was a good run on YouTube, guys. I really appreciate you. This is a degenerate weeb stream. Yeah, it is. I'm okay with it.
That
But,
means something coming from Mr. Biden.
True. At least we're not sniffing underage girls' hair.
Well, we might be reading a manga about that later, though.
I mean, if you check your DMs, I at least listed a whole catalog.
That should be the next popular Japanese manga, the presidential hair sniffer. But
They actually made like a 1-volume manga about Barron Trump. So
okay. We did Trump Space Force on this show, so I guess
that's
it evens
awesome.
out. But
Which was fantastic. Trump Punch Man, not that
Trump
good.
Punch Man.
yeah,
It wasn't good.
They also have Walmite, which is just they took this character from the show called My Hero Academia and pretty much just Trumpified him.
I
That's
like
fantastic.
how Trumpify is a verb now.
oh yeah, absolutely. But Yeah, the main character, Regina King, finds a clan robe in Don Johnson's closet, cellar, whatever. And she finds it during the man's wake while all of his friends are mourning the fact that he was killed. That's classy. But
because she's a psycho bitch.
well, here's my main problem, and that's pretty much all that really happened in this show. Like, I feel like the second episode was better than the first. However, I still don't feel like this is anything more than a TV show with a halfway decent premise wrapped in a Watchmen cloak. You know?
But not the best acting. That bit where she's like getting all emotional after she takes in
oh god, yeah,
Will, and she's just going
the noise
while she's slamming a shotgun against like a wall or something.
Yeah, I was watching that at work on my lunch break, and I had to turn the volume down because I didn't want people to think that it was really bad acted porno. I was literally concerned about that.
Came on, I was like, who the fuck directed this scene?
Yeah,
what did you do? Put a shot collar on her and zap her while she tried to do this? What the fuck was that?
No, man, this wasn't a Tarantino flick.
Yeah, it would be good if it was.
But what were you saying?
One problem with watching subtitled anime is that there's a lot of scenes that if you heard it in English, totally innocuous, everything's fine. But the way the Japanese voice actors like to say things can get you in a lot of trouble, especially if you're not wearing headphones.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll make sure I don't watch.
Maxine Waters is in the chat now.
Subbed anime out in public.
Maxine Waters and Joe Biden are going at it in the chat now.
Oh no!
So we're having a presidential debate in our chat.
Maxine Waters isn't a presidential candidate. What the fuck is wrong with you?
She's not. There's like 30.
Did I say Did I say Oprah was in the chat, Ayrton?
Come on. Seriously, there's so many of them. I can't remember who is and isn't running at this point.
Well,
I mean, fair point.
Yeah, I mean you're right. You're not wrong.
All I know is Tulsi Gabbard went after Hillary Clinton in the most savage way, and
she got my vote. I don't even vote Democrat.
Hot.
You know,
she's almost like vote. She's almost like too hot to be president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Putin. Like if she was trying to negotiate with Russia, Putin would just be like, "Why don't you take off shirt?" And then she'd probably do it because I mean, if Putin said that to me, I would take my shirt off if he told me to. So
of course you would. I'm just gonna. You see, I need to stop you from talking to save you from yourself.
Okay, well, if you don't take your shirt off when you're with Putin, you'll end up dead. You know, it's really about self-preservation at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. Self-respect is greater than self-preservation, I think.
Every man's got their thing, man. I'm not here to question yours.
I mean, come on. Have you seen that picture of him riding a horse shirtless? Come on.
No, I haven't. Because I'm a heterosexual male.
You didn't see the meme where it was him doing that, and there was like a picture of Obama all like flabby and shit, like coming out of the water, and it says like their leader versus ours. You didn't
I did
see
nothing
that meme?
wrong, Baratech. You can't blame this on me.
No, this is every episode, guys. We just can't make it through 2 hours without somehow getting absolutely flabbergasted off the rails. But I think the point that I was trying to make before I was so rudely pulled off of my train of thought by Maxine Waters in the chat is that, you know, in this series, like, you don't have a good lead character, I don't think. Not for a Watchmen-driven story, because we're being fed all of these excuses that, okay, it's all right that police brutality takes place as long as it's not white people doing it. It's cool that, police beat up victims and criminals as long as it's white people that are victims and criminals. And it's, look
Right.
at these redneck trailer trash guys that are really upset that black people have it better than they do. When it feels so racially charged for no reason. It's just so divisive, and I don't understand that in the current culture. I don't understand why that's so important.
Right. And
Definitely
and
a fictional
that's
show then, if that's the premise.
right. And that's why I kind of agree with the take that I heard that this show is almost like a Rorschach test, depending on what side of this conflict you fall on. Depends
The
on how you
cultural
view the
debate.
show.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look, there's a very divided line on Twitter after the premiere. I haven't seen anything on the second episode, but there's a very divided line. If you just search the hashtag for Watchmen, of who likes and who dislikes the show, and it's a very racial line.
Yeah.
I'm not
By
saying
the
there are
way,
exceptions on either. There
Novel
aren't
Bro-
exceptions, but
By the way, real quick, Novel Bro agrees with me that Tulsi is an absolute MILF. Anyways,
Have to get that in there.
I'm so glad. That was so intrinsic to the show. I don't know what we would have done without it.
hey, that's what I'm here for.
I'm so glad. But anyway, you were asking if they use any of the older characters, Weeb. In the next episode, you're actually supposed to get a shot of Laurie, Silk Spectre. She
nice.
is, she's apparently like some kind of agent, like FBI agent or special investigator or something. But she's changed her last name to Blake. So it's Laurie Blake as they introduce her as, because she's still in hiding from the whole superhero fiasco.
Yeah, I was gonna. How is she in hiding but working for the FBI?
Also, wasn't her costume? She didn't hide her face at all.
Right.
But she's 30 years
at the
older
end
now
of the
too.
Watchmen comic, her and Night Owl, kind of run off and like dye their hair blonde and stuff, and like go do like picket fence suburb type family, whatever.
Okay. It's been a while since I've read that, so.
Yeah, so it would make sense that they got involved with law enforcement. It would also kind of explain how law enforcement got the Night Owl technology. Is that he just kind of went into, he just kind of went into developing.
It's a stupid way to explain it, but
Well,
I did have a question about the Watchmen franchise in general.
go ahead.
Isn't this a DC universe setting, or has that been changed?
No, with Doomsday Clock, it's a DC universe setting, although this not a mainstream DC universe setting in this instance, I don't think, because you're not hearing about Batman and Superman. Although you do hear about Dr. Manhattan. So call it Vertigo is what we'll call it. It's part of their Vertigo imprint mainly. And everything in Vertigo could have either been together or separate, because you had stuff like Sandman and Hellblazer, John Constantine, all those characters, and they came together in the books of magic. However, Watchmen and certain other comics like From Hell and stuff like that never, became part of the mainstream Vertigo or DC universe until recently, when Watchmen was absorbed into the mainstream DC universe due to universal fuckery and reboots being needed. Confusing enough?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fairly confused.
Good. Basically, because
so
DC owns the
basically,
property,
it's a
they can do,
clusterfuck.
yeah, because DC owns the property, they can do whatever the fuck they want to with it. So in the TV show, it exists in and of itself. However, currently, there is a 12-issue miniseries that is in DC Comics and does feature, like, Batman, Superman, those guys. where the Watchmen characters are basically superimposed on that universe.
Oh, that's cool.
So TV show, no superheroes. Superhero comics, Watchmen. And that's one of the beauties of the comic book medium that I like to kind of exalt, is that there's nothing stopping you from telling these stories. Back in the day, you had something called the Elseworlds, where they would tell stories of alternate worlds and universes and stuff like that, with Batman where he was a vampire, or Batman was a communist, or Superman was born in Soviet or not born, but landed in Soviet Russia as opposed to America, or Green Lantern got his powers
Damn
from magic.
commies.
Well, Green Lantern got his powers from a magic lamp in Saudi Arabia in the 1001 Nights kind of settings. And you could tell these stories and then put the toys back in the box and nobody cared. Like, if you bought the book, you enjoyed it, cool. But it didn't affect 60 years of history with Hal Jordan. Just all of a sudden turning him Arabic. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But nowadays, everything
to-
has to be in continuity and everything has to make sense in continuity. And I don't like that.
Well, and to kind of tie it back to, the manga discussion, that's probably one of the biggest differences between Western comics and manga is, as far as I know, you don't have like, a manga that's been going on for 30, 40 years that they've rebooted 4 times and
Dragon Ball!
all these different continuities. Well,
I mean, with Dragon Ball, a lot of the time, like it's either like time skips or like it's like, oh, well, Goku died, so now Gohan's going to be the main lead, and it's set like 10 years in the future.
Yeah,
but it's all sexed. It's a very like smooth continuity. It's not like, oh, this is Earth 515.
Isn't it still the original creators as well on, or at least
I believe so. Yeah,
the proprietary owners? Like,
I believe Toriyama still owns it. He created Dragon Ball. I think they're still publishing under the same people too.
One thing that I think, and I've advocated for this on this show many a times. I think we need to put legacy characters on the back burner and stop using them to keep a dying medium alive. Like, I know it sounds crazy, and as much as I love comic books, I think comic books are going to live and die on the shoulders of characters like Cyberfrog, like Bigfoot Bill, new creations that exist.
Grom,
yeah. New creations.
Now that it got funded.
Anything coming out in Alterna, they're going to exist on creator that do not continue outside of their purview. Tom King's Batman is a massive bitch. Bill Finger's Batman shot a dude.
Oh shit!
There are things that shot a lot of dudes actually in Detective Comics. That's where DC gets its name from, by the way. DC took its name from Detective Comics, which was their best-selling book, even though Action Comics was where they introduced Superman. And Batman he'll be 80 years old this year or last year.
Yeah, but could you imagine AC as a company instead of DC? You would just think like, oh, that keeps my house cool in the summer.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't they just leave the name of the company Action Comics and publish Superman, Batman? That's a different conversation.
True.
Yeah, Bill Finger might. Bob Kane wouldn't care so long as Batman raked in money. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but I still don't think that they would allow that property to go down that route, Spidey. I think that when a creator dies and their creative control is over, I think that character, at the bare minimum, needs to just go to the back burner. Just stop being a mainstay because
Yeah.
It's really hard, especially when you have like 8 Bat Family books or 10 Spider-Man books or 100 different reboots in an 80-year time frame. How are you supposed to give someone a starting point? How are you supposed to give someone a complete story that makes sense with something else that they know?
Right. And, to respond to Maxine Waters in the chat, I do watch original Looney Tunes and have based my entire life persona around Bugs Bunny. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So
I apologize. I get serious near the end of the show here. I like to leave on something.
he usually does.
I like to leave on something a little more substantial than just some kind of fish penis joke. But I just
had to respond to that one.
I dislike this Watchmen TV show because it's basically a different television show that has nothing to do with Watchmen, dressed up like the Watchmen.
Right.
You can do that, but if you're trying to ride off of the success of the initial series, it feels cheap. If you're going to say
and
this
you
is
need
an
better
alternate,
actors.
well, they're gonna say. They're going to say, oh, well, this is just a derivative work. Well, if it's just a derivative work, say, in an alternate history, give it something that's different. Try not to say, oh, this is just a 30-year future of the Watchmen. You remember that thing you love? Watch us tear it down and destroy it. No. Just say from the very beginning, okay, well, this is a story about the Watchmen if the Minutemen were formed as a pro-African American anti-segregation movement. This is in response to the Tulsa Massacre and the Black Wall Street Massacre and the slave trade and everything. This is where superheroes came from, and this is the story we're telling. And I'm fine with that. But you're
I'm lucky
saying,
I'm not beholden the chat like you guys, because that sounds miserable.
oh, to watch the show? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds painful.
And the other problem is they're painting the the 7th Cavalry.
Yeah, 7th Cavalry with a K, because K is the most
Yeah,
racist letter ever.
Yeah, and they're following Rorschach's journal as a manifesto, but technically
they have to change words in it.
Well, if you read the comic, his whole thing was, I'm going to tell the truth of what happened here today. Like, this was a false flag attack. So technically they're right.
Yeah. They just they see their racist beliefs into it,
kowtowed to a false flag attack perpetrated by Vite. And the other heroes, Dr. Manhattan,
just went along with
Night Owl and stuff. Yeah, they just kind of were like, well, it's for the greater good. Why kill billions when you could just kill 1 million people and have world peace? And Rorschach was like, nah, you guys suck.
Yeah, you can't do that. You have to let people decide for themselves.
Right. And it's one of those things, like, how are you legitimately painting these people as villains if you've read the story?
Well, the thing is they give it a dressing of the white supremacy movement and the Klan, and that's how you make them the bad guy. And they even have to change a lot of his direct quotes from his journal to make it fit to their white supremacist manifesto.
Yeah, like his quote about the, fornicators, drug users, stuff like that. I will hurt whatever his quote was. They changed it to race mixers and stuff like that in the first episode.
Yeah,
that's crap.
Yeah, when all the whores and politicians will look up and scream, "Save us," and we'll look down and say no.
Yeah. Yeah,
See,
they changed one of the lines to race mixers.
Yeah. Like that immediately turned me off. Go ahead.
To jump to bring it to like an anime manga thing, they do that a lot when they dub anime Like, there was this one line in the show called Kobayashi where this dragon girl changed her outfit, and they're like, oh, why? She goes, oh, I was just tired of breaking men's necks, like that, kind of like implying, oh, a lot of guys check her out. But in the dub, like, oh, I wanted to smash the patriarchy by changing my outfit. Like almost a direct quote like that. It's like, why? There's no point.
Jamie Markey has been prolific in saying that she'll do that just on a whim because she feels like it. And yeah, it definitely has killed because I'm not sure how far back your anime days go, but one of my first experiences with anime back when I was a very young lad was Slayers.
That sounds familiar.
It follows a main character called Lena, and she's a magic user, and she's got this very well endowed sidekick.
I dated a girl named Lena. She was an amputee on one of her legs.
Jesus fucking Christ. Get out. You know what? I haven't done this in a couple of shows. I haven't, but we got to go here. Ayrton, buddy.
Yeah.
You're fired. Get out. Take your picket sign. Get the fuck out.
Hey, I'm union, bitch.
Hey, didn't you like that I remembered that you had a picket sign?
You did. I did.
Flashback humor. See, 2 hours ago.
It was a nice touch.
But anyway, no, Slayers is one of my first experiences, and that was when I learned that you should always watch subtitled anime.
Everybody has, or everyone who watches anime has a moment where they're like, I'm going to subtitles. This is crap.
Because I watched all of Dragon Ball Z dubbed, and it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started watching Slayers, and I accidentally rewatched one of the discs on subtitles instead of dubs while I was watching it, and I realized that the story was different. And I was like, wait a minute. I had a Ralph minute. Now wait a minute. But anyway, I think that's probably about all we've got for tonight. We've got about 2 minutes, or hell, about a minute or so to wrap up. I don't know if Rackets is going live tonight. I assume he is. And I haven't gotten a notification.
I'm not sure if he is or not.
But that doesn't mean anything.
I mean,
I know
everybody wants the BBC, so
everyone does. I don't understand, but I normally don't get Racket's notification because they hate him so much.
He's really ass blasted a lot of people.
Well, he's good at it. What do you want?
I mean, he is a lawyer.
We don't have a stream link up, so I'm not seeing a show tonight. But I do have to go to work tomorrow. So, as much as I love you guys, I am gonna have to wind down and get some rest. No, I was just resting before the show. Double resting. That sounds fantastic.
Second rest.
That's right. It's like second breakfast, but better. But anyway, CaptainWeeb, I definitely appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a blast. We got to have you back on again later on, talk about another series or another volume of Goblin Slayer or something.
Yeah, I always have a fun time when I'm on your guys' show. I'm definitely down to continue Goblin Slayer or find some new good stuff and at least give you a warning next time there's excessive goblin activities.
I just always assume there are excessivenesses in all animes and mangas. Like, I just assume the worst. Probably the best way to...
I'll at least tell Church.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
tell me, and then I'll decide whether or not Ayrton deserves to know.
Well, I appreciate that. You guys are good friends.
Yeah, well, we love you, buddy. We want you to have the best time possible.
Yeah, of course.
Surprise rape.
I mean, I'm just glad there were no goblin penises in
Eh,
it. Really,
Yes.
that's my biggest takeaway.
I
And,
can give it the official no penis stamp of approval.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, just to bring it back to my D&D joke that nobody appreciated earlier, Ayrton was looking for a show to co-host, and he went to roll his D20, and he rolled a 1, and that's how we end up here. Critical failure brings you to the church of failure. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys. I will say goodbye to you guys personally, but everybody in the chat: Maxine Waters, Joe Biden, Novel Bros, Spidey, Veritech, Xavier, Old Angry Normie, Danielle, Goblin King. Who am I missing? Daniel.
Spidey.
Cartoon, I already said Spidey. Einbrecht. Hell, we had a lot of people in the chat tonight. Jesus. Good night. Donka, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Have a great evening. Erica was here for a minute. But yeah, thanks, everybody. Like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense. All of our links down in the description below. You can follow Captain Weeb on Twitter at CaptainWeeb. You can follow Captain Weeb's good friend and brother on Twitter at what is it? At Weeb Punished, and all of our info down below: Patreon, Streamlabs, all that nonsense. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. No Facebook. Facebook is for boomers.
If you do follow me or my brother every Monday through Friday, you get a good morning message first thing in the morning.
All right.
Ooh.
But anyway,
I'm kind of scared of what that good morning message is going to be.
Check it out tomorrow morning then.
I
out
guess
yourself.
I'll have to.
I think the good morning message is something like this. So, good night, everybody.
Joe, stay away from Erica. And hey, you stole my line.
Go ahead. I was trying to signal you to
everybody.
give your. Okay. Good night, everybody.